Hi everyone. Today we are going to start down the path of looking at Node and looking at NVM and Jest, which is Node is a framework that basically is used to install all the libraries and other frameworks that you would use in a JavaScript project. And Jest is the testing framework that you can use, one of many in JavaScript, but one of the ones that I prefer, that is able to write unit tests, automated testing. And this is where you write a function, and that function tests another function, or tests some other class or some part of your code. So we are going to, last time we're going to start with just doing a check that NVM is installed. So if you do NVM-V, you should see an output here, and it shouldn't say an error like NVM not found. So we want to use NVM to install Node. So first of all, you can see I navigated to my Jest testing repo. We should have created one of that on GitHub and then cloned it so that you have it in your repos folder. So we are going to want to use Node to install Jest here. But first we're going to start with NVM-V, and then we're going to actually use NVM, which is Node Version Manager, to install Node. So we want to say NVM install, and then 18. We're going to install version 18. And so if you hit that, run that, then mine says it's already installed because I've already installed it, but yours should have a lot of output. It takes some time. It installs it, and then it finally says it succeeded. And then after that's done, we want to say NVM use 18. What that does, so the nice thing about NVM is that it allows you to install any number of versions of them at the same time. So I can install version 18, 17, 16, have them all installed. In fact, if I do NVM list, it shows that I've got this version installed. I've got, in any case, it shows the different versions that are possible to have installed, and some of them I have installed, some of them I don't. But what we want to do is we want to now use NVM to use version 18. So now we're using, so now if I do type node -v, node is the command line, is a CLI, it's a command line interface for using Node. It's just the word Node, just like NVM. So if you do, and so just like node-v, this is where CLIs are important. So Git has a -v, Node has a -v. Also, we have something called npm, and npm has a -v. So you can see that whenever you have a CLI, these are all CLI command line interface applications that are different than an application like VS Code, where it's got a graphical user interface. These all have a command line interface. So now that we have Node installed, we want to use npm, which stands for Node Package Manager. npm is a very powerful tool that you'll use a lot if you do a lot of development with JavaScript, because it is how we install all the libraries and things that we would use inside of a project. So we're going to start this out by typing npm init, and what that's going to do is going to give you a bunch of prompts here. It's going to create a package.json. A package.json file is required for installing libraries in a JavaScript project, unless you're doing it through an index.html file or some HTML file. So we are going to, what this is saying is that It's asking you what the package name is. Well, we know it's Jest testing, and it's auto-detected. So just the thing that's in parentheses is the default. So if you just hit enter, it's going to set the package name to Jest testing. So if you just hit enter, the version number is going to be 1.000. There won't be a description if you just hit enter. The entry point is index.js. Test command is whatever you type in here. So we can type Jest for now, because that's what we're going to want to eventually do. And Git repository is empty for now. Keywords doesn't matter. Author doesn't matter. License is ISC. All right, so now it says this is what my file is going to look like. What's inside of my package.json is going to look like this. So is this yes? Is this okay? I'm going to type yes and hit enter. All right, so now if I open this up in Visual Studio, the way you would do that, go to File, and then Open in Folder, and you would just go navigate to your Jest testing, and that would be how you would open it. So I hit cancel because I've already opened it. So now if you just click on our package.json, you can see that we have a name Jest testing, version, description, main, scripts. And the scripts has this script called test, and this is where if you type npm test, it will actually run that script. And if we okay, so now what we want to do is we want to use npm to. So actually, at this point, we want to do a commit. So git add dot git commit dash m added package dot JSON. Okay, so now next we want to do, and you can push that too, so git push, and it's good to take small commits. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to install Jest. So to install Jest, we want to use npm again, and this is npm install. Actually, if I just type npm like this, you can see that it has explanations on how to use it. So if you want to install something, we type npm install. It says install all the dependencies in your project. Well, actually, that's by itself. If you say this, npm install this, add the food dependency to your project. This adds a dependency to your project. Well, we want to install Jest, so we're going to type npm install Jest, and that's the package we want to install. And then we want to add another flag here of --save -dev. Save dev is a flag you pass to this npm install Jest that's going to say I'm only going to install this as a dev dependency, which means it will not be added to the final artifact that I create because it's tests. It won't need to be. It's only needed whenever in my development environment is where I'm going to be running, because that's where I'm running tests. So Jest should always be saved in the dev dependencies. So if I take this, hit enter, you see it's going to run through this little progress bar here, and it's going to go through the processes of installing this, and now suddenly we've had some new stuff here. We've got this package.lock JSON. This is something you don't really ever need to look at. It is done for the computer. And then we have the node modules that have been installed. So there's a lot of node modules, as you can see. And a lot of these are dependencies to Jest. Jest is inside of here. If you can look at Jest right here. So this is the Jest. This is the one that we just installed, but what happens is that Jest has a lot of dependencies in it. And so all of these were installed because of the dependencies that Jest requires. So node modules is where you can find all of your dependencies for a project that you have installed. Now, we don't want to commit this because what we want to do is we never want to commit your node modules folder because, folder, because you will always be able to get that just by running yarn install by itself. npm install will automatically detect your whatever's in your package.json, let's, before we do that, so let's look at this. So what this has done is it's added the node modules, it's added the package lock, and it's added some stuff to your package.json. This is what it's added. Dev dependencies, and inside dev dependencies, there's an object of key value pairs, and the key is the name of the dependency, and the value is the version of the dependency. And what this hat 29.7.0 is saying, it will continue to work with a version 29.7.0 and above versions. All right, I guess it's kind of saying, listen, it can continue to install as it gets new versions of Jest that come out. It will install the next level. Although I'm not sure that I'm convinced that works that way. That hat's a little bit of a mystery to me. I'm not sure I totally understand it, but it just basically means that this is the 29.7.0 version. It's not that significant. So now we have this Jest test that we can run. So if we type npm test, as you can see, it's recognizing Jest, and it's saying no tests found and exiting with code 1. So this is what happens when there's no tests. Right now we have no tests written, but this is so that's actually a good thing. That shows that our Jest was installed and it's actually running whenever we run npm test. So, and that's because we put Jest in here, which is the command line way of running Jest tests for all tests. It will auto detect in this package. So if you look at this, it's saying test match. It's looking for anything that's in a folder that has the word tests with 2 underscores before and after it, and anywhere in your code that you have that, it will run the files inside of there as tests, as well as if you have a file that has a dot and the word test and then dot ts or tsx or something like that, it will recognize that as a test file. So it doesn't have to be in a tests folder. If you have a file that looks like my code.test.ts like that, it will, anywhere in your code you have that, it will also include that in the tests that are running. But now we want to do a commit, but to do a commit with this, we don't want to commit all the node modules. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to hit this plus icon, make sure this is last selected, and this should create a file at the top level, and we want to call this file .getignore. And getignore is a special magic word file that if you name a file .getignore, has to have a dot in front of it, Git will then ignore the folders and files that you pass in here. So we're going to type node underscore modules with a slash at the end, and that tells it that this is a folder called node modules. So whenever you do a commit, so if I do git status, actually let me delete this real quick. So if I do this right now, as is, if I do git status, you'll see that we have, actually if I do a git add, let me just do a git add first, add dot. So now if you do git status, you'll see that we've got a crazy number of files that have just been added. And they're almost all in node modules. We don't want to, like I said, we don't want to add all the node modules because we don't need to. Because whenever we need to install anything, or we can just type npm install, and it will install everything that the package.json file specifies needs to be installed. So as we add more dependencies in a project, you can just do yarn install, or you can just do npm install to install those. Another tool that's parallel to npm is yarn. So you can install yarn with npm, install yarn, and that would also basically allow you to then just use yarn instead of npm if you want to do that. We're not going to do that. I've done that in other projects, but that's not what we're doing today. So we don't want to see all these files. So what we're going to do is in our getignore, we're going to type node underscore modules slash, and now when I type git add, Now if I type git status, it still shows all those other ones. That's not good. So git reset, git status. Okay, so now if I do git add, git status, you only see the git ignore file, the package lock.json, and the package.json. So git reset basically unstages your what things that have been added to stage. It basically unadds things. So that's why, so the git ignore file now makes it so that all the other files are not added. So now we want to do a git commit added git ignore file and Jest. So git commit. All right, so now we've committed that. We can do a git push. So great. So now we're in a spot where we are ready to start writing tests for Jest. So let's go ahead and, oh, I meant to also do, we want to create a source folder here. So oops, Jest testing. So if I hit this folder button here on src, this is important because package.json and node projects expect to have a structure with the word src where your code will go.